Now, in its 11th year, this is GabNet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Hey, everybody. Live from Harlem in New York City, this is Alex Bennett, and this is the Ramble. Out to the other coast of the United States, we call it the left coast sometimes, is Larry Bubbles Brown. Hello, Lawrence.
The West Coast, where you have to come out and visit sometime.
Yeah, we really should. It's not that difficult, although it's a little more difficult for me because I really don't want to drive anymore. So, I have to find people who take me around and do stuff like that. But I've got certain people there who will help in that way, so I'm not worried about it. It's just we have to do it. I'm going to mention it to Marjorie today.
Okay.
Let's go out to the West Coast and see Larry.
And you can also do your Waymo out here. So.
Again,
which I want to do that.
Yeah, well, what we'll do is I'll order a Waymo. Excuse me.
That'd be a good video, me and you in a Waymo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, probably peeing in our pants. Waymo, explain Waymo to the audience in case they don't know.
That is a driverless taxi that I think we're in 3 cities right now. San Francisco's one, and you have to get an app, I guess, on your smartphone, so I couldn't do it, but you just order them up, and they will come to your door. And I think you have to use the phone to unlock the door to get in.
Okay.
And they will take you to your destination.
Right. And it has to be within San Francisco, right?
In San Francisco city limits, yeah. So they probably don't go to the airport then.
Well, if it could make a couple of stops, I could get it to go pick you up.
Yeah.
You see, with me in it. And Marjorie probably screaming.
Well, you see them. I mean, there's so many. You see so many around here, and when you see a car drive by with nobody in it, it's kind of a
well, you know,
disconcerting.
Yeah, what kind of interests me though is I've seen the Waymos, and they got things on the top whirling around.
Oh, they got all these things swirling around and things on the side. They had tons of equipment.
Yeah, but you can get yourself a Tesla, and for an additional amount of money, you can get it so it's self-driving. So why don't they use those instead of the Waymo with the whirling stuff and everything and all the scientific gizmos? Is that there to make you feel good?
The Teslas can't really legally self-drive. They said you can. They're pretty good at doing most of it, but they can't do everything.
Yeah, whereas Waymo does not actually have to have a driver in the cab when it picks you up.
Right.
So it comes to your front door driverless, basically. Mm-hmm. I don't know. How will you react to that?
I've seen so many of them, I don't think I'd freak out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. And people are in them rather calm when they're driving around?
Yeah. So there's just so many of them around here now. They're all white, and they seem to drive very cautiously because if there's one in the street and I'm a pedestrian and I step off the curb, they stop immediately.
That's amazing. That's just incredible. Do you keep trying to get run over by Waymos?
I'm trying to figure out if I could get a good lawsuit.
A good lawsuit. Yeah, well, you can't sue the driver.
No,
not at all. So anyway, well, here we now. What's interesting is you are the least technically crazy person. Okay,
right.
You're not like me. I've loved technology over the years. It amazes me. I'm into it. All right, but you're not. And yet this is something that absolutely fascinates you.
This is the one thing that appeals to me, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe because there's so many of them going by all the time.
Exactly. And so I feel like they're safe. And then people that take the Waymos tell me they love it because they don't have to talk to anybody.
You don't have a driver talking to you.
Right. Yeah.
But you could bring your wife along and she'll talk to you, and that's too much already, you know.
Or get her a separate Waymo.
Yeah. So that's interesting. You know, now do you see a reason why you should have a smartphone?
I guess so, yeah.
No, I'll tell you the reason, Larry, to have a smartphone. Number one, you could call me and I could see your face, okay? But more than that, it's because you're on the outside looking in. You know, I mean, this is not a flip phone world. And a lot of things forget about Waymos and forget about that. There are other things you can do with that, like pay off bills or look up your bank account or whatever. Do things that you do at home using, I guess, your computer. All it is, a smartphone, is a computer in your pocket.
Right.
Okay, you've got a computer at home. Why not have one in your pocket? So you're locked out of a lot of things. You know, you can't order a lot of stuff because you don't have an iPhone, you know, or some kind of smartphone. So that's the reason why I'm telling you should be ditching that flip phone. I know you love it.
I still send checks. So.
Yeah, but when you answer me, do you use your flip phone or do you just use your computer?
When
like when I send you an email.
I use the desktop, yeah.
Yeah, because you don't want to have to go to the flip phone. Why?
Because it's too...
Because when you want to hit a B, you have to hit an A twice, right?
Yeah,
that kind of stuff. That was always too much trouble. Here you don't even have to type in what you want to write. I dictated.
I see people do that. They just...
Yeah. I've gotten very good at the dictation. It's almost 100% accurate.
Yeah,
at
I
this
bet there's
point.
mistakes, right?
Well, as you use it, it gets used to you, and it becomes more accurate. Okay? So I've gotten to a point now where it's about 99% accurate. You know, and if I do make a mistake in it doesn't pick up something or write something wrong, the person who's reading it realizes that anything you text is not going to be exactly what you meant. You know, so all I'm saying is, why not join all of us in the 21st century?
I like to be a holdout. I remember you were the first person I knew that had, I think you had a car phone.
Yeah, I had a car phone. Yeah.
In your RX-7.
Yep. It was one of those that was like you had a cord on the other end of it. You know, it wasn't wireless.
And how much did that cost? Do you remember?
I cannot remember, but I had so much fuck you money in those days that it didn't matter to me. Gary got the bill, you know, and I didn't pay it. I'm trying to think though. Was it a lot of money? I think it was quite pricey at the time. You know,
it had to be, yeah.
But I love the idea of having a phone in my car.
Well, for your business, you had to.
Yeah. Now you don't really need a car phone. You've got it. If you've got a smartphone in your pocket, you've got all the phone you'll ever need in your car. And in most cars today, if your phone rings, your smartphone rings, it can automatically show up on a screen in your car, and then you can use your car. They have a microphone in the car. You can use it to answer the phone. You know, so the phone works with the car. Okay, so. I think.
Illegal to drive holding a phone.
Yeah, well, see, I mean, I say I think because I haven't driven a car since that feature became prominent in most cars. I stopped driving 15 years ago. I haven't owned a car since I left San Francisco.
Well, that would save you a lot of money.
Yeah, but you know what it does? I wonder if I know how to drive.
15 years? I don't think you forget.
Well, I don't know. You know, I mean, I think about getting behind the wheel of a car, and then I also am a little lightheaded most of the day. I just don't have the level of consciousness that I once had. I know that my business manager, Gary, you know Gary.
Yeah.
One day he's 90 now.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he was driving, and he hit a car, but he just a little dinger. You know, nothing horrible. No, it wasn't a major accident. But he did, and it was that day he said, I decided I'm not going to drive any longer. He said, I've gotten to the age where I shouldn't drive. Well, I'm 85, you know. Can I drive? You know, can I accurately drive?
Now, you could with a Tesla. So.
Well, I suppose if I were still living in San Francisco and I still had to have a car, and I've been driving all this time, I probably still would drive fine, you know, because we get into cars, and I don't know if you felt this way. When I was growing up in California, you got yourself a car, and after a while, you weren't conscious of driving it, you know? It's just kind of like an appendage to your body. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you just get in the car, get behind the wheel, you know, put the key in the ignition, which very few people do anymore. But you do because you've got a car that's 80 years old. How old is that car you're driving?
25.
And it's a what?
A Toyota Camry.
Toyota Camry. And you just get behind the wheel, put the thing in the
key in,
and start up and go.
Yeah.
If you bought a new car, you probably wouldn't know what to do.
I read Consumer Reports, and it said that some of them are have a steep learning curve.
Really?
Yeah, they all have this screen in the middle of the dashboard.
Oh, it's a huge screen.
Everything.
It's as big as an iPad, if not bigger.
Yeah, and it controls it.
Yeah.
They said it's over, like it controls the, like if you want to roll the windows down,
yeah,
you have to go to the screen and find the windows, which actually takes more time than just, hitting the button by the door.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, but before, if you wanted to roll down the window, you just pulled the thing on the side.
Right there.
Yeah. But I didn't know they did that, but I'm sure there is a fairly large learning curve. The hardest part that I had was I rented a car from Hertz or whoever, and I said, okay, where's the key? They said, just this button that will let you in the car. Really? How do I start the car? Or you push the button. You have a button you push to start the car.
God, I hate that.
See, you don't even know that, do you?
No, I would not like that.
Yeah, every car has a button now that you push. And for electricity, for stuff, I think they now actually have plugs. I'm not too sure about that because I haven't driven one of them lately. But I think they have plugs now. Remember how they found a reason for a lighter in a car. That's where you plugged in accessories, right?
Yeah.
For power. Well, I think they finally realized that was antiquated since nobody had used a lighter anymore. So they have some plugs in cars that you just plug stuff into. And that's the way it should have been all along anyway, but, people wanted to smoke. Yeah.
I can't believe it's been that long since you've driven. Jeez.
I can't believe it's that long since I smoked, now that I think about it. Yeah.
When was your last cigarette?
It was on the air at the Quake.
Wow.
At the Quake, yeah. Somebody came in and they were pushing quitting smoking or whatever. And they said, "Well, let's give you a breath test." They said, do you need to quit? You need to quit smoking. I said, "No, I don't. I have no problems with it." They said, "Let's test you," and they tested me, and they found that my breathing was not what it should be, and that was the day I decided to quit. As part of that quitting, I took a thing called Bantron, which I think may still be available in most drugstores. And what it did is it supplied nicotine to your system, but you didn't have to smoke. So you could use it to wean yourself off of smoking, because smoking was more of a habit than anything else, But if you had to wean yourself off of the nicotine, you could do it with Bantron. And I used Bantron. And I used it for about a week or something, and then I stopped the Bantron, and I wasn't smoking. And then I said to myself, well, let's see how long I can go without smoking. Well, it's been, I quit when I was 40. It's been 40?
45 years.
45 years, something like that. Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah. I'm glad I quit smoking.
Well, how much were you smoking at the time?
I was smoking 2 packs a day.
Wow, that's a lot.
But I was smoking Shermans, which are these no chemicals in the cigarette. So it was a little better for you, not much, but it was a little better. But what was I was saying? So I quit. And it was kind of easy.
It sounds like you got off it. Some people I know just are so addicted to it.
Well, you can't put what can I call it, a task in front of you. I'm going to quit smoking. No, don't say that. Say just what I did. I'm going to see how long I can go without smoking. And that kind of changes the tone of what you're doing. Now you're playing a game with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And it worked. I quit smoking. And I can't say, I see people smoking. I don't want a cigarette. There's just no desire for a cigarette. But then again, I had a low tolerance to a very high tolerance to addiction, where I could do just about anything. I mean, I used cocaine a lot years ago. And one day I just decided to quit, and I stopped, and that was it. So whereas other people I know people who just never can quit smoking. It's just impossible for them. And I go, geez, come on, have some willpower. Just stop. The easiest way to quit smoking is stop.
And if you're a smoker, you get so much hatred from everyone that doesn't smoke.
Well, they're a little judgmental. I never liked that part. Even when I quit smoking, I didn't become judgmental of other people. Oh, we mind very much if you smoke. Well, I mind very much if you're around my presence, okay?
Although the smoke is irritating.
I guess I don't know anymore, because you really don't go any places that are smoky. I mean, do you?
No, I mean, they stopped over, I think it was 98, they stopped. You couldn't smoke in the clubs anymore, which was great.
Yeah, but I mean, but also you're saying you can't smoke in clubs, but, what about your own home? You can smoke there.
Some places you can't smoke in in apartments.
Really?
Yeah.
What they say, is it the landlords that say that, or is there a law?
Berkeley, it's the city law.
You can't smoke in your apartment? Can you smoke outdoors?
I think, because there's a sign you have to be 15 feet from the building.
I'll tell you, one thing I'm a little judgmental about. Marjorie loves her marijuana. Always has, always will. Okay? So she'll start lighting up a joint and smoking, and I'm going, Could you go do that in another room? Because forget about smoking cigarettes and how it can be maybe harmful to you if you're secondary smoke or whatever. Forget that for a second. With marijuana, there's no question that if somebody is smoking around you and the smoke is permeating the room, you're going to get high.
Really?
Oh, yeah. It's called, what do they call it? Secondary. You just get high because you're inhaling the smoke too.
Okay, I didn't.
All right? And so the one thing I had against making it legal is they didn't make laws about make sure other people are not inhaling your smoke because they may not want to get high. That make sense?
Yeah.
You don't know enough about marijuana to know that you can get a secondary high from somebody else.
Yeah, I never tried it.
Years ago, when I was doing a show here in New York City on WMCA, I booked for the program all the members of the Grateful Dead. And all of them showed up except for one. And we had this studio that was used as a interview studio. There was a guy named Barry Gray who used to interview a whole group of people at one time. So there were like about 6 tables around, and then the one I sat at. And each one had a microphone and so on and so forth. And they came in, and as we started the interview, okay, they pulled out joints and started smoking. All of them, all 6 of them. All right. Now, I got to preface this a little bit by saying that I was talking to the lawyers at the radio station one day, and I said, the show I do, a lot of people smoke pot and do things like that. I said, what happens if somebody pulls out a joint and starts smoking? And the lawyer said, it was not your job to tell them they shouldn't. Okay? As long as you don't participate. All right. So now they pull out all these joints and start smoking. Now, I'm not going to tell them stop, number one, because it would cause a problem on the show, but because I remembered what the lawyers told me. I don't have to tell them to stop. So the room now fills with smoke. And in a very short amount of time, I am high as a kite. Okay? I am just blasted. Okay? And they got a big kick out of that. Hey, look, the host of the show has gotten high and they were blowing it in my face. Okay? And I'll never forget that. I tell people, hey, guess who got me high once? Who? The Grateful Dead. Really? So anyway, that was my story with secondhand smoke. And a contact high, that's what they called it. They called it a contact high. So if you were in a room full of people smoking pot, you don't smoke pot. You never have. You probably never will. But all of a sudden, you become an unwitting participant in the high. Okay, because, you sit there. Have you been around people smoking pot?
I stay away from them if they are.
Oh, okay. See? But if you stuck around, you would get high without even noticing it. So I will tell Marjorie, please go in the other room and do that. Because most of the time I don't want to get high before I have a show to do at night.
Yeah, that was not a good idea.
Well, I found in the past that when I got high before I went on the air, and that only happened once years ago when I was in Minneapolis, I went on the air. I was high, and somebody called up and said, what, blah, 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 what do you think? And I went, oh, fuck, I don't know. And I went, oh, my God, what did I just say? And I hit the button on myself, and I said, that's the last time I ever get high before doing a show, because I have no control over myself. So that was the story of getting high and doing a show and deciding that I never wanted that to happen. So when Marjorie starts smoking and there's this secondhand smoke, and I'm getting I don't want to get a contact high because I got a show to do. So I know that's all weird and so on and so forth. And
Well,
I'm
back
talking,
then you could be arrested for
yeah.
right.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, years ago, people were thrown in jail for years for smoking one joint.
For years.
For years.
Wow.
Yeah. They came back today, they wouldn't believe what they're seeing. So. Remember Robert Mitchum? He was arrested for it. It was a big thing back then. Robert Mitchum got arrested. He got thrown in jail for like 3 months, something like that.
Surprised that didn't hurt his career.
No, it didn't. He was too good an actor to have it spoil his career. Anyway, hey, we've run out of time here, Larry.
Okay.
And I got high just talking to you. Contact high with Larry Bubbles.
You get high on Bub.
You're getting high on Bud. Anyway, talk to you later.
Next week, yeah.
Bye.
Now, in its 11th year, this is GabNet. Talk like you've never heard it before.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. See you next week. Larry, good to see you. Anyway, hello, everybody. How are you? There's only one person waiting to come on right now. It's getting frustrating. Anyway, I got somebody listening to the program in the next room. We have a guest staying here. So, say hi to them so they know they're listening. Anyway, it's always nice. Hey, all we got is Josh Wheeler? Really? Oh, now we got Charlie Wallace. There we go. Well, we got 2 people so far. Who knows if we'll get any more, okay? But let's admit these people here. There we go. There's Charlie Wallace. Here comes Josh. There's Josh. Hello, Josh. How are you this evening?
Good, thank you.
Yeah? Okay. And let me see. Oh, Alan. I'll admit Alan. Alan is coming on now. And, oh, there's a very nice T-shirt you've got on tonight, Charlie. Yep. Can you? Oh, there
Yes.
you go. There
Yeah,
you go. Okay.
Yeah, my favorite scientist.
Palm Springs, what?
Oh, Palm Springs Mounted Police.
Is there such a thing?
Yeah, Palm Springs Police. Palm Springs was in the news a couple weeks ago. That's where that bomb went off in front of the VF Clinton.
It was strange because it was somebody who bombed it because they were trying to have children.
No, that's not what I don't know. Oh, Palm. Yeah, that's not what I heard. But the guy was in the car when it exploded, I guess.
Yeah, that was the one.
Right.
Yeah, the bomber didn't want people to have children.
Right.
There's some kind of movement in the country against people having kids or something.
Yeah.
What's their philosophy on that? Not that I don't agree with them to a certain extent, but I ain't ready to bomb clinics.
Yeah.
You know.
Right. This guy wanted to go out with a bang. He certainly did. He was a munitions expert from 29 Palms.
Mm-hmm.
Marine military base not too far from Palm Springs, I guess. And he filled up his little car full of explosive and put a big old crater in the ground, and they found parts of him 2 blocks away.
Yeah, but did he get out of the car before he blew it up?
Nope.
No.
Well,
Either that or he was standing next to it. They don't know for sure.
yeah, he's going to be part of that whole Darwin thing, you know. Hello, Charlene. How are you?
Oh, good, Alex. You know, when I was trying to sign in and everything, who blew up in a car?
This guy. This was in Palm Springs. It was the bombing of a what do you call it? Where they make in vitro fertilization place.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Palm Springs, California. It started with Alex asking about the hat, and then asking if.
All right. Well, Alan, hold on. But, you know, is this going to be a thing? Remember when they used to kill the nurses and doctors for abortion clinics? Now they're going to go after IVF.
Now it's after people who are trying to have kids. Yeah.
Yeah, IVF. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? But then again,
Doesn't,
today
no.
none of what's going on
You didn't-
makes any kind of sense.
You didn't hear about the bomb 2 weeks ago, Charlene?
Oh, I have friends that do that to me, Alan. Stop. Every time I try to talk about Trump and they're Democrats, they go, I heard about that 2 weeks ago.
Well,
Whatever. Mm.
Something must be wrong with my microphone or your speaker. I'm just
Well, oh,
asking.
no, you know what? I have
I-
my iPad and it's in my comforter and by my pillow. Sorry. I was blocking. Sorry.
Oh, okay, no problem. Yeah, there was a bombing in Palm Springs. Put Palm Springs on the map. It's a quiet little desert community in Southern California. So
I know Palm
wearing,
Springs.
wearing the
I
hat.
watch a vlogger that's there where Frank Sinatra's buried and all that stuff.
Who was the most famous mayor of Palm Springs?
Oh, Sonny Bono.
That's
Sonny Bono.
correct. That's correct.
I win the Jeopardy today.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, who's that picture? What's that picture? There's a picture up there of a woman. Is that you?
No, I wish, Alex. It's Marilyn Monroe. I love
That
Marilyn
Marilyn
Monroe.
Monroe? That must be a
Yeah.
really
Can
early
you see?
picture of her. Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
I love Marilyn Monroe.
Although
yeah.
back then Charlene was pretty hot.
Oh, well, thank you, Charlie. I know you're fussy. Am I up there with what's her name, Taylor Swift, and Katy Perry? Like what other ones?
Now you're a big fan of Taylor Swift, right, Charlie?
Oh
He's
yeah.
a
So you
Swiftie.
must have been delighted to find out today that she got the rights to all her music. She bought
Oh,
her
I know she's been
rights.
fighting for it. Yeah.
She's been
Wonderful.
well. She's been asking for it for years. She's been willing to pay for it, But finally, the most recent owners of her music said, "Sure, we'll let you buy it from us." So she bought them back.
Yeah. But she had released just about every album that she had on her own, called Taylor's Version or whatever. And I
Well,
always
what she did that to take the what do you call it, the heat off the other people.
Yeah.
In other words, to make it so that their versions weren't that important or that saleable. And I think probably what happened was they finally said, we give up. I mean, you've re-recorded these things. People are buying the newer versions because you tell them not to buy the older versions. They aren't. So now she got all her stuff, and she says she's going to jazz them up a little bit, make them up to date technically. So you must be delighted. You got a chance to re-buy everything she ever put out.
No problem. I'll do it.
I was
Putting
always
money in her pocket. Yeah.
She gives a lot of money to charity.
Yeah, I didn't know that, but I imagine that that's a nice thing to do when you got that kind of money. Could she perhaps pass that idea along to Elon Musk?
He won't listen to anybody.
He's too high on ketamine.
Romance is over.
He doesn't give his money out to anybody.
He has
I mean,
to buy his drugs.
Come on,
He has
he's
to buy his
got
drugs.
he's got so much money. What happened was with who do you call it? Microsoft Gates, Bill Gates, was that what's his name? The other money guy.
Well, the Microsoft?
No.
That's Gates.
That's Gates.
Warren
who are those?
Buffett.
Warren Buffett
Well,
said to him one day. He said, "Look, you've got so much money. It would be a shame for you to not use that for some good." And he convinced him to give away something like 75% of his money to doing good works. He did. The only problem was he couldn't give it away fast enough, and he's still worth as much as he was when he first started giving it away.
yeah.
But he said, it'd be a shame for you to have all this money and then not do something good with it. What are you going to do? Leave it to your kids? How much do you want to leave to your kids? So
It's funny Charlene brings up Frank Sinatra in Palm Springs. While he was in Palm Springs quietly, him and his wife donated a children's care hospital. And if he heard of strangers that needed surgery but couldn't afford it, he would pay for it quietly.
Yes, quietly, and told people that if you ever tell anybody where this money came from, I won't give you any more.
That was
Yeah.
Barbara Marx. He married Barbara Marx.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. Well, that
Yeah.
she was a C word. She was not a.
Oh,
She was not a good person.
See you next Tuesday.
Oh,
they
she
say.
forced. You go and you listen to the stuff that Sinatra did in his later years when he had lost it completely, and he was, he had Alzheimer's and everything else going for him, and the reason was she pushed him out there. Make me more money. Make me more money, so that when you die, I've got this money.
Yeah, the kids hate her, the daughters.
Who was her husband before
Oh,
Sinatra?
Zeppo.
Zeppo Marx.
He
Yeah.
was Marx, yeah.
The interesting thing is he was friends with the Marx Brothers, and he was living in a country club. There's a big they're like 2-hour YouTube video on Frank Sinatra in Palm Springs. It's really
I've
good.
seen it, I think. I've seen it. Yeah.
And I just saw it the other night. And so he was friends with the Marx Brothers, and in the country club he lived in, they wanted to buy a place there, but they wouldn't allow Sammy Davis or the Marx Brothers because they didn't want Jews. So Frank Sinatra sold his place, and they moved to another community like that in, look at that, Kevin looks so good. To another community that allowed Jewish people and black people in.
Oh, he was very good like that, Frank.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
He
Well,
wouldn't let them make Sammy go through the kitchen.
Well, no,
He said he's
no,
coming through the front door, right?
No,
Yeah.
you're talking about Vegas.
Vegas.
They made him
right.
come through the kitchen in order to play with the Rat Pack. And Sinatra found out about this. He found out he was staying on the other side of town in this black neighborhood, and he went to the guys who ran I can't remember where what
Sands,
yeah, and said, "Listen, I'm canceling this whole thing if you don't let Sammy stay here in the hotel."
that's right.
And they did, by golly. Do you know in those days there's this incredible story, and I think it might have happened at the Sands. But in the early days, somebody like Sammy Davis Jr., I think it was, who was staying there, decided, I'll go down and use the pool. He went down and used the pool, and the Sands was outraged because a black man was swimming in the white swimming pool.
Yep.
Okay?
Yep.
And they drained the pool
Oh,
That's
God.
horrible,
and then
right?
cleaned it with bleach.
That's
Oh, my God.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how
Oh,
bad it was back then.
You read the book, Alex, that big, thick book.
I read
about
several
Frank,
of them,
right?
a couple of Frank books, yeah. Yeah. No, he was a good guy that way because his mother was very much a left-wing Democrat.
Oh, good. I didn't know that.
And she always was into big causes and so on and so forth. So why Frank, in his later years, became such a Republican, nobody can quite understand. But I
Yeah.
think it was because he was pissed off by one Democrat. I think it might have been the Kennedys.
Oh, yeah, it was the
Yeah.
Kennedys.
Yeah.
He built that whole heliport thing in Palm Springs, right?
Oh, well, no, what happened was
And then
the
Kennedy didn't
president,
land. Yeah.
Kennedy was supposed to come and stay with him. And then there was some kind of brouhaha with Kennedy's father who said, if you go stay with him,
The mafia. right?
it's a terrible thing. It's going to cause all kinds of problems for us. Don't stay with him. So
Yep.
Sinatra had built a house for him to stay in, had done a whole bunch of stuff to get it ready.
Helipad and everything.
Helipad and everything, a place for the Secret Service to stay, all of that, and he never showed up.
Yep.
From that day on, he was a Republican. So,
So when I was a kid, I went to a show with my parents in Las Vegas that my uncle, my father's brother, arranged because he knew Frank Sinatra. He was actually a police captain at the highest rank in Chicago, my uncle, and he was also friends with people like Sam Giancana and stuff like that. So he was, in the mob. And my mother and father moved us out of Chicago before I was born because they didn't want to get mixed up in the mob. Like my my uncle was. My uncle got us into, and then I got to go backstage and meet him in person. But that was like 8 or 9, and something like that. It really didn't reflect on me.
Yeah, well, my father worked with Frank
Oh, wow.
at Calneva Lodge, played with the band, of course. And I remember one of my biggest memories is that my father came out after the show and he sat at the bar with me. And in another room, which you could see, because it didn't have a curtain or anything, was Sammy Davis Jr. and the Complete Rat Pack hanging out there, and Frank.
Oh,
But what?
Oh no! Oh, I thought you were done.
My father, it's one of the most memorable moments of my life with my father, because we're sitting at this bar with all this drama going on in another room, and I only remember Sammy Davis Jr. didn't look happy. He looked like he didn't exactly fit in, even though, he was allowed in Calneva, obviously, because Frank owned it. But I'm sitting there with my father, and we're sitting at the bar, and he says, I'm going to have a drink. Would you do something for me, son? And I said, what? He said, I'm not getting any younger. He said, before I go to my just reward, would you just have a drink with your father? I said, but Dad, I don't drink. And he said, yeah, that's a problem. He said, why don't you have one drink with me? I said, okay, I'll have one drink with you. So I said, what are you having? He says, I'm having a Jack Daniels on the rocks. I said, okay, I'll have a Jack Daniels on the rocks. So he tells the bartender, 2 Jack Daniels on the rocks. And the drink comes, and my father picks up the glass, and he downs the drink. And then I say, okay, well, here goes nothing. And I down it, and I go, oh, my God, this is terrible.
It is, yeah.
And my father looked at me and said, and you thought I was having fun all these years.
At least it was a scotch, Alex. That's like iodine, right?
It's not scotch.
Well, scotch, I always liked scotch. Of all the drinks I would drink, it was scotch. Most people don't drink. They might try vodka, somehow vodka.
Keep it in your office. Single malt scotch.
Yeah, scotch is. I can drink scotch. For some reason, there's something about scotch I liked. I don't know why.
Well, you have to acquire a taste for all these things, right?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, of course they're acquired tastes. But anyway,
Yes.
so how are we all tonight? Are we all doing fine? How about you, Josh? How are you?
Well, I'm doing good, thank you.
Yeah. I don't know what's up. What's new?
You talked about Calneva. It's kind of coincidental. Also, Sam Giancana owned part of it.
No, he didn't.
That's how the story goes.
No, that's not how the story goes.
Okay, well, I've been in there, but I don't know if
Sam Giancana came to hang out with Frank and to stay at Calneva.
Oh, okay.
And because Sam, you see, Frank always kind of was like the mob because they had been good to him when he wasn't doing well. They owned the clubs, and they let him play in their clubs and made sure that he had an income coming in during those lean years.
Mm-hmm.
And so when Sam Giancana wanted to come and stay at Calneva, he said, sure, fine. Well, it's illegal in the state of Nevada to have a known criminal stay at your resort or your hotel or whatever.
Wow.
And because Sam Giancana stayed there, Frank lost his license and had to give up Calneva.
Wow.
But he never owned any part of it.
Oh, okay.
Tough world.
Tough world, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
Oh, Alex, you were asking about
Sam
those
Giancana, by the way, was the guy who was having sex with Jack Kennedy's girlfriend. What was her?
And also the girl on the wall behind Charlene.
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, they were tag teaming, right? The
No,
Kennedy
no,
brothers.
no, the Kennedy brothers were. But I'm saying that Sam Giancana was having sex with what was her name now? I
I
can't
can't
remember.
remember. She wrote there was a book, a
Yeah,
biography
it's
of
a
her.
brunette. Oh God.
What? You're coming close. Coming close with the name.
I can't remember who she is. I have the book, I think, but I can't remember.
Yeah, but she and Giancana were having sex at the same time she was having sex with Jack Kennedy.
Yeah.
And
No wonder why the mob hated the Kennedys so much.
Wow.
yeah, well,
That's why they got what's his name, Kennedy.
well, I still believe to this day that the Kennedy assassination was a mob hit.
I do too.
You know,
I do too. You can the puzzle parts fit.
the puzzle parts do fit absolutely. Yeah.
Well, did Trump release a lot more stuff?
Campbell Exner. What was her name? Campbell Exner.
Yeah.
yeah,
Judith Campbell
Judith
Exner.
Exner.
Yeah.
Julie or something, wasn't it?
Julie
Judith
Campbell
Exner.
Exner. Somebody just said
Yeah.
Tyson's Acosta had it right here. for
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
He should know.
But I think they released a lot more stuff again, like with Trump, and a lot of people aren't really picking up on it. But I saw. Oh my God! I saw I watched a lot of vloggers, and
Well, the stuff
this
that
guy
got
had,
the stuff that got released was nothing.
yeah, I just saw he was very hairy. They had him on the mortuary slab.
Who was
And I
very
didn't know-
hairy?
Kennedy. I didn't know he had like a lot of chest and body hair and all that, and back hair.
Where'd you hear that?
Well, I saw pictures that this guy, he's real into the Manson murders and all this. He does a vlog, and he showed the autopsy. I've seen Marilyn's autopsy too.
Yeah, but those pictures have been Trump didn't
Doctored up if it's Trump, yeah.
Probably doctor.
those pictures of Kennedy's head laying there with his brains blown out, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
And the autopsy have been on the internet for years.
Yeah.
yeah. That probably is old or something, yeah.
I don't know
Marilyn
what
Manson
that's
was
look
Miss
like.
Artichoke.
What?
Marilyn Manson was Miss Artichoke here in
Really?
Watson or Castroville.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
He came there, Marilyn Manson.
Marilyn
No, not
Manson,
him.
not Marilyn Monroe.
Oh.
Right.
Marilyn Monroe,
Oh.
not Marilyn Manson. Marilyn Monroe was out here. She was Miss,
She was Miss
Uh-oh.
Artichoke?
yeah, in
Wow.
Castroville.
Really?
Yeah.
What,
Yeah, I
what
think
was,
she did do stuff like that.
was she was when she was Marilyn or before that when she was
Marilyn, right when she started with Marilyn, yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Norma
really?
Jean. Yeah, Norma Jean.
Yeah.
Just thought you'd like to know a fun fact.
Well, that's a good fun fact.
Whether you care or not, you hear it now.
Listen, I can name almost every artichoke queen in history.
Can you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's start on Sunday.
What about that Trump is taco? What is it again?
That
Trump
is so
always
funny.
chickens out.
Always chickens out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Trump-
yeah. Trump always chickens out.
And then they have a song. You sing it to Macho Man. Taco, taco man.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that. That's funny.
And they say he hates it. And
Oh, yeah.
what's her name? The woman that he has there.
I heard though that
She's trying to arrest people or something for taco.
No,
He hates it.
no. But what I heard was that Trump, in order to kind of walk into the thing rather than run away from it, has like Taco Tuesdays now
Oh, jeez.
at the
So does
Oval
Taco
Office.
Bell. So does Taco Bell. They've had it for years.
Yeah, I know.
But you know, I don't know. Well, he was not happy in the press conference when
Right.
somebody asked him about because he had not heard. If he was upset by being a new nickname Taco and
And then he went into a whole thing about, well,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
what I expect from the New York Times,
Yeah,
a
it's
terrible
nasty
newspaper.
question.
yeah.
You know, I saw Marjorie today was watching that press conference that he was holding with Elon Musk, right? And I walked in on it, and I looked at Marjorie and said, "How many times did he mention Biden already?" And she said,
Well, I say the bromance is over with. He's talking shit about Elon Musk is talking shit about.
"Oh no, but it
Trump.
wasn't. The bromance isn't over. You should have seen them kind of sucking each other off in the Oval Office today."
I guess I missed that.
I
Yeah.
saw parts of that.
Did you see that, Kevin?
Yeah, pretty much. And then they were looking up at the 24 karat gold eagle.
I
on the
saw
top of
that,
the Oval
yeah.
Office.
Oh, I loved when Elon said he has suddenly turned this the Oval Office into a place of class or whatever,
Alice or something.
a palace. And I
all
said to
fucking
myself, what do you mean? He turned it into looking like a whorehouse, for crying
Yeah.
out loud.
Yes. Well, he's comfortable in whorehouses.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, Elon was saying how wonderful it looked, and also the eagle on the ceiling, which he has had repainted in 24 karat gold.
Right.
There is 24 karat gold, isn't there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
plating. It's
It's pure
sheets of
gold.
gold they put up there.
Yeah.
Pure gold is 24 karat. You could squish it between your fingers. Normally on a gold ring, they don't have any rings, but with a ring they add base metals to make it hard.
Yeah.
Nickel.
Yeah, and they kept looking at the ceiling, but I was like, why don't they shoot a camera so I could see it too?
Yeah, so I
you
can
know?
see it too. But the whole place, if you've seen it, 360 degrees, he's painted it in gold leaf and everything. And I'm going, geez almighty, this looks terrible.
Well, just
Tacky,
remember his
yeah.
bathroom in Mar-a-Lago had a gold toilet. So
Well,
why
listen, what you want to do with Mar-a-Lago is your doing. This happens to be the people's room.
I
okay?
disagree with him doing this in the White House.
I mean,
I'm
there
surprised
should be.
he hasn't put it up for sale.
Well, what I would do, I mean, if I were the people in charge of the White House, there should be some rules about what you can do and can't do in
They're
decorating
going to have to
it.
start after him, right?
Yeah,
Doesn't
Make
apply to
some.
him.
but there are no such rules, are there, Josh?
For the decorating, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, not really. I think they get a budget or whatever, but they can ask for more money, and Congress might give it, but they can pretty much do whatever they want, as far as I know.
I'd love to sneak in there in the middle of the night and paint everything pink.
I think lining his chair, the inside of his leather chair that he sits on with thumbtacks would be good, pointing up.
Okay. You can do that while I'm painting the room pink.
Okay, cool.
And I can say, well, the president's a fan of Barbie. That's why it's pink.
Wasn't he a fan of Barbie? What did he say about, that you can only, instead of 34 Barbies, kids just need like 2 Barbies, right?
No, he didn't. She didn't say Barbies. He said dolls.
Oh, dolls, yeah. But
To begin
even
with,
Mattel jumped on
how
it.
many here have kids? Female kids? You
I don't have any
do.
females.
You do, Kevin. Did you ever think about buying them 34 dolls?
I got close to 34, yeah.
Did you really?
But your daughter we're talking about, not you.
Yeah, I know. I had to share.
Did you
I don't know if
actually?
we had 34. We had at least 15.
I'll send you a picture of what I came home to one night when I was working.
Wow.
Really?
They were all naked, laying on my chair, spread eagle all over the place. It was about 18 of them.
No, really?
You sure your
Yeah.
wife
I
didn't
posted
put them
it
there?
on. I posted it on Facebook and said, "Here's what I come home to after 14 hours of work."
I'll tell you what we got in our guest room.
Burlesque.
If our guest would look over to her left, is a whole basket of teddy bears. Like maybe I'd say we got at least 30 teddy bears there. You know?
Yeah.
You know, but anyway, it's all gotten too weird and strange. And now Elon's going back to he's got to go back and save his company, for crying out loud.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah. I mean, it's not like he's the only game in town anymore.
Nope.
And I wish him all the luck with SpaceX, because I want to see that succeed. I think so do you, Charlie, right?
Yeah.
You know?
I would rather see NASA take it back.
Yeah, me too.
Well, no, I wouldn't. I don't think NASA did a very good job of administering all of that. You know, they were too slow in doing what they did. And it took some guy like Elon who wanted to make a buck out of it to really ramp it up. I mean, he made space travel more inexpensive than it was in the past, you know. And
Well,
would you
I think
disagree with
that-
me on that, Charlie?
I do not like Elon Musk. I'm sorry.
I know you don't like Elon Musk, but let's
He
okay.
only did what he did because NASA did what they did 50 years ago.
Yeah,
That's
but they
right.
didn't do any more of it. That's the problem. They sat there stagnating, becoming.
NASA has never been
wait a minute.
well
Will you let me
funded.
finish what I'm saying? They became NASA hauling and shipping, is what they became after we came back from the moon for the last time. They didn't do anything since then.
Why doesn't Trump, with his infamous renaming and developing Space Force, take it away from him and start doing it then? He's so goddamn good. Why not?
Well, that's a good. That's not the worst idea in the world.
He has a Space
you see,
Force. Use the freaking thing.
The thing is, I do like the privatization of space travel because they're getting stuff done faster, only because they're greedier.
Then hire Musk and work the shit out of him.
Yeah.
Yeah, make him a slave.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then he can't have no contracts. We don't have to
Right.
worry about any kind of corruption.
Yeah.
I won't say we don't have to worry about it.
Do you think there's corruption going on there?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm sure there is, and having somebody like Musk with all these contracts and probably secrets or whatever, and then the government's going to hand all this shit over to him to carry out projects and carry out missions. That's the scary part.
Well, they're not going to stop
He's not.
now.
To me, he's not very stable.
You know, they're not going to stop now because Trump is president. He's going to watch out for Elon.
Probably going to hand more shit to him.
Yeah, yeah. But, you know, I mean, one of these days he's going to get that massive rocket to finally get out there. And, you know, and I think once he does, we're well on our way to having major space exploration. I don't like Elon either. I don't like him a bit. But I have to say that he did a lot for space travel. And when you talk about NASA, Charlie, who's NASA using? You know?
They were forced to because Congress kept defunding them.
Yeah, yeah. But you know, that gave Elon an opening. Who was? I saw somebody had their hand raised.
Oh,
Yeah.
I just wanted to say something that's like kind of silly, but I heard Chris Rock was doing a routine, and he says that Elon Musk is the most famous African American now in the world. I thought it was funny because I like Chris Rock.
Do you know what I liked? What was it? What was it? I'm trying to remember what I was going to even say.
Oh, sorry, Alex. It's
Yeah,
probably me.
they were. Well, I can't remember now. Forget it. I'll remember it in a second. Jeff?
I'm not sure, but when we went to the moon, did we use the German engineers at that point? Or
No.
They,
Well,
were they retired at that point?
the German engineers were, especially like Werner von Braun,
Yeah.
who was the head of the German space program.
Yep.
He got the whole process going with the sending up of rockets. He was basically sending up rockets based on his V2. And then slowly but surely, other people started coming in, and they started getting American scientists and so on and so forth. But I think that the Germans were still working it for a while there. I don't know how long. How long, Charlie? Do you remember it all?
Well, after World War II, they sort of went off to either the Soviet Union or the U.S.
Well, actually, the Soviet Union got a batch, and we got a batch, and the Soviet Union got the best batch.
Yeah.
Well,
That's why they were the first ones up there.
oh, okay. I was thinking of the German scientists that we got that were involved with the Manhattan Project.
The German scientists weren't involved with the Manhattan Project.
No.
Sure, they were. They were Jewish Jews.
No.
Came here. Sure.
Wait,
Einstein.
wait a minute. What are you saying?
Einstein was involved with it. Teller was
He had
involved.
nothing to do with the German government, though.
No. They fled,
Yeah.
and we hired these really smart physicists that
Yep.
happen to be German Jews. That's what I thought you were talking about. Sorry.
No. He was talking about the people that worked in the
Well,
youth and the program.
yeah, and the only way that Einstein was involved in the creation of the atomic bomb is they went to him with the plans for the atomic bomb and said, "Will this work?" And he looked at it and said, "Yes, it will."
Yep.
Right.
And somebody later on said to Einstein, "Knowing what you know, why didn't you tell them it wouldn't work? And then they wouldn't build the damn thing." And he said, "I didn't think anybody would be stupid enough to build it."
Yeah.
You know, so
I have a question for Bree.
why? What's he eating today?
No. That pisses me off that he eats so cheap. You know, we were talking about pardons. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Bree? We were talking about pardons, and you had said that Biden has pardoned more people than Trump. Right?
Yeah.
You said that Wednesday?
I said up until Trump, who has had the most pardons, and it was Biden.
Okay. Oh, up until Trump. Okay, because I was going to say, I was thinking after the show that your numbers were off, thinking of the January 6 people that he pardoned.
Yeah, there were a ton of them.
Oh,
Yeah.
he's pardoning
Well-
everybody. I mean,
Well,
you
let's
know.
take a look. We can look up the
Yeah,
numbers.
Google it.
All right.
He'll look up the-
Faster internet and
He'll look up the numbers for you. What's all that noise? Is that your?
The
Sorry, yeah.
restaurant, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, Alex, you were asking about the Cresleys, you know, and I happen to have watched that show and everything, and I saw the daughter and son, you know, making their press conference or something. So some people call them the Chrysalis family.
Yeah.
They can't say Cresley. They're like very religious. I don't know what religion, but they all have crucifixes and everything. And she is working for Trump now somehow in Washington, like she's involved in Washington, D.C. now. And then they're right away, Cressley, the father, he started announcing that they're going to start filming Cressley Knows Best. That was the show they used to have. So, you know, I guess I heard he has to make restitution. So I guess they
I don't.
have to film. right?
I don't care about them.
Oh, I know.
I really
It's
could
awful,
care
that
less
show.
about them, but I don't.
I just happen to have looked
You know,
at it.
if you're on TV and you're in jail, you'll get a pardon. That's
from
all.
Trump.
You know.
Next, it'll be the Tiger King, right?
Yeah, that's
You'll-
what they're saying.
Well, the Tiger King's has been asking for a pardon.
From him. And the Menendez brothers probably too. right?
No, they haven't. No. They got enough good people working for them. No, I never heard of these Chrisleys. I've heard of the show. I mean, peripherally. You know.
Yeah, his wife, you know, she wasn't there, and I heard she grew her hair out gray, and
By the
because
way,
she was a blonde, you know.
by
Go
the
ahead,
way,
sorry.
I'm Jewish. I shouldn't be saying this, but how sick are all of you of seeing all these people wearing crucifixes around their necks?
Mm-hmm.
And they're
I
all
never-
people who have no Christian values whatsoever.
Right.
Oh, that looks good.
You know.
Oh, God darn you, Bree. Oh,
Oh,
that's even
Bree,
better.
Bree,
Oh, Bree, stop.
Bree.
What did he do?
Look at all the Japanese food he's eating for a third or a quarter of what
Oh, he
we
gets
pay.
great sushi, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, look at that. Look at that. Okay,
Wow,
now
I
wait
love
a minute, wait a minute, wait a minute.
$7 for all that, U.S.
I'm going to say $4.95.
I was going to say probably less than five.
How close am I? How close am I, Bree? $4.95.
7.
Yeah, you're pretty close. You're pretty close, Alex.
Who's right, Alex or Alan?
Alan said
Seven.
7. I said $5, $5.95 maybe.
Yeah, it'll be about $5.20.
See,
Alex wins.
nailed it.
Alex, you got it today.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Can't even get a Happy Meal for that here.
Not
Thanks,
anymore.
My French dish will come in a minute. I'll
You
show
can't
hers.
get out of McDonald's, I hear, for less than about $7
Right.
now.
It's ridiculous. Burger
They
King,
said,
$5 for a Whopper.
Yeah.
$5. You're
Well,
lucky
actually,
there.
almost six. Almost
More
six.
than, yeah, it's more than that.
You
here.
can use my Whopper for nothing. Anyway, I just thought I'd say that. So what's new, Josh? Anything, that you would like to talk about?
No, nothing new. Nothing different. I'm pretty disconnected from the news, so I don't really have anything particular I want to talk
Why
about.
have you disconnected yourself from the news? You're just tired of it?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really want to hear about Trump, all the time, and I'm working on my stuff, so when I work on that all day, I don't have the news on all day. The news is the same stuff all the time, and it's too damn many commercials, and it's too much of we're going to talk about this in a minute, but what they really mean is 45 minutes from now, and
Yeah.
I don't have time to wait for them. I'll watch a fucking 25-year-old rerun of Matlock before I'll sit around and wait for them.
What
to talk.
I'm absolutely sick about is the fact that every time I tune on one of these news channels, they're talking about Trump. Now, I understand he's president of the United States, and I understand occasionally he'll do something that's newsworthy, but he's doing everything he can to get you to talk. And when he gets you to talk, he wants you to dissuade you from talking about the things that are important. In other words, I'm going to get in trouble for this today because of the big airplane. What do? Let's try and pass another law that does this or does that. That's going to piss people off, and they're going to talk about it, and then they'll forget about the airplane. And I just think it's time that all these news operations said, let's cover him when he's worth covering. But like this press conference with Elon Musk today, it took at least a half hour of it, 45 minutes, was on the air. And it was useless.
Yeah, it lasted 56 minutes.
Huh?
Lasted 56 minutes.
Yeah. And they ran every minute of it, didn't they?
Because on that Fox Live, they just run the whole damn thing.
Yeah, right. But I think that's what you're talking about, Josh. You're just frustrated by it all.
Yeah, I don't care. I mean, look, I got, I'm in the middle of a class, and I've got 2 articles that are about to be published. I got a book to write. I got plenty to do. That doesn't revolve around Trump. I mean, most of my news comes off C-SPAN. I have 2 TVs down here, and I watch movies during the day when I work, and the other one usually has C-SPANs back and forth, and I catch what's going on. I saw the press conference, and I have it on muted a lot, and I check out what's going on. I listen for a minute, and I move on from it. So I listened to an hour and a half long interview with the founder of C-SPAN, yesterday, about how they started the network and how it works and all that. And, that was the most interesting thing I've watched in weeks. It doesn't have anything to do with Trump.
I seem to remember.
They didn't talk about him one time because that's not what it's about.
I seem to remember who that guy was. What was his name?
His name's Brian Lamb.
Brian Lamb. Yeah.
He worked at the Pentagon in public affairs, and he knew a lot of people in D.C. And he just talked about how they got, C-SPAN isn't owned by the government. It's a public affairs network. That gets the government feed. But
how are they funded, by the way?
They're paid for by the cable companies and satellite companies that put them on your channel.
Okay.
Or in your lineup. Now that has hurt them over the last few years. So one of the ways they're funded now, because so many people have moved away from cable and satellite to the internet, and not all of the internet carriers provide them. Like I don't know if YouTube TV does or not, but some of the larger ones do not on the internet. And so now they, at times, on their internet coverage and their podcasts, they run commercials. Not a lot, like 2 or whatever. But they used to run, none. Every podcast was commercial free. But now if they have like a 90-minute podcast, they have like 2 at the beginning and like 2 at the halfway mark.
Yeah. I know what I was going to say earlier. I know what I was going to say earlier, Josh. When the networks first started, the government said, excuse me, now I'm going to lose my train of thought there, Bree. Bring that up in a moment. Okay, let me finish the thought that I was going to say. In the beginning, they said, okay, we'll give you these licenses for the TV networks and the TV stations and so on, but we require that for at least a half hour every day, you take time out to present a newscast telling people what's going on. And that's one of the things they agreed to. The one thing the government didn't tell them to do is that hour, half hour or hour, I think it might have been an hour originally, had to be commercial free. But they didn't say that. So by virtue of not saying that, the newscasts had commercials on them. And the minute those newscasts had commercials on them, they just lost all viability because people were trying to make money off of them.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's the way the news goes now. But, it's C-SPAN's mission was never to make money. It was it's a nonprofit, right? So
right.
It's nonprofit, nonpartisan. It's, they just put on public affairs programming. It's when they first started, they didn't even have their own cameras or anything. They just put out feed. HBO was the first, to go over, satellite, but, C-SPAN was the second in the late 1970s when they got started, So, started showing the House of Representatives in 1979. But, believe it or not, the United States Senate, the Senate did not let them start televising sessions until 1986.
Really?
There were some senators who said, we will never be on TV. That's a joke, and then when it's same, the Supreme Court still doesn't allow it, right?
Right.
They give audio arguments, but every single year, C-SPAN goes to the Supreme Court every year, and he just said, we've had the same meeting for 30 years. We want to put cameras in the court, the same as we do everything else, and show people the arguments, and every year they say no.
Well, I think they could prove by virtue of the way they've done stuff that they're not going to interrupt anything. They're just going to put the cameras up and not have anybody almost in the room running them.
Yeah, and actually, most of the time that you see the House or the Senate on C-SPAN, that is not their cameras. They get the feed from the House or from the Senate, and people who work for the government control the cameras. However, they do let C-SPAN in with their own cameras for some events. So like he pointed out, they were there for the 15 rounds of the speaker voting, right? 2-3 years ago, whatever. And they were allowed to have their own cameras in for that day. No one knew it was going to get as exciting as it did, and he said that's the reason why when we would see 2 lawmakers huddle together and texting on their phones or they were in each other's face, we put it on TV. He said, now they would never do that, and they didn't want to do it because when they, a long time ago, that when they still do these special order speeches and all that, we wanted to do our own cameras, he said, because, I knew that here was this guy standing down there in the well of the House of Representatives, ranting and raving with his chart and talking about all this stuff and everything. And other than the people taking notes, he's the only guy in the chamber. You know what I'm saying? And when we wanted to show that he was the only guy in the chamber. And they never wanted people to know that. But eventually they did get enough, members of the House and now of the Senate to...
They show a guy like Ted Cruz, for instance, giving a speech. And you think, oh, he's giving a speech and everybody's listening to him. But if you actually look there, there's nobody in the chamber.
That's right.
Which is, fine.
What do you think is the reluctance on the part of the Supreme Court to not be seen?
Well, they're very traditionalist for one, and
you think there's a fear there that they don't want to be seen?
They are afraid that And they've been, I guess, fairly open with the C-SPAN people about it, that they think that it will lessen the prestige of the court because if it
Well,
goes on
that's
TV,
long gone away. But
yeah,
anyway,
but if it goes on TV, it will become a production. Now, even though C-SPAN has tried to defend the fact, no, we don't do productions, we just put a camera in the court, but they have argued it'll become a production. That they've said, there will be a camera on one of the justices, and they will roll their eyes, and the camera will catch it, and that will be the lead story on the 6:30 evening news, and that's all anybody will talk about. They will not talk about the substance of our argument or our opinion. They will only talk about the justice who rolled his eyes, even though it was probably for something else or, whatever. That's what they'll talk
but do you
about.
think there's some fear they might be found out in a lot of levels?
I mean, the arguments are out there. They're open to the public. People can go. So, I
Well,
mean,
if in fact it's open to the public, why
Yeah, it
isn't television allowed to be there?
well,
Because
that's
I
the
can't
fans'
go.
argument. If you go to
I would like to be there, but I can't go. But I do have a TV set, and I could watch it.
Yes, if you go to C-SPAN's website, at the very top of their website, they have a little link that says cameras in the court. It's been at the top of their website for 15 years, and it asks the exact same question that you ask, and they give a big long web page on why they think cameras should be in the court. I mean, you're not saying anything they don't disagree with, but they told a lot of the inside story of their production and all that. I mean, they actually told how they have like college professors and Hollywood people and news people come in and train their cameramen how not to do the things that they do. In other words, he talked about how all that network stuff that you saw of the Anita Hill stuff back in the day where they would zoom in on Anita Hill's face and then slowly zoom out when he was talking. He said, we train our people never to do that. We show the room, just like you were sitting there in a chair.
Mhm.
We don't add dramatic effects.
I agree
because that
with
alters
I
the story.
agree with that philosophy, though, on the part of C-SPAN, that you can create a lot of prejudice by what you're shooting or not shooting. I once argued that the problem is, and I've been involved in situations like this, like the riots in Chicago, where TV, at that time especially, was only a square picture. And you never saw what went on either side of that picture. So it was where you tended to frame that shot that might have caused a prejudicial.
Yeah, so he just said, like they train their camera people how not to do those things, and like you said, it's not a ball game.
Yeah.
It's a public affairs network.
Wait a minute, Bree wants to take some time out from
It's
eating
not-
to say something.
Well, it's not might, Alex. It's definitely 100%. You are referencing Goffner and others who have written about framing theory, and it covers those aspects.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, yeah. Well, I wonder. I guess they don't rerun interviews with people, or are they going to rerun an interview with Brian Lamb?
Yeah, they do, and you can get it off their website anytime you want.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I mean, it was they did it because he was the CEO until 2014, and then stepped aside, and Susan Swain, who had been there since the beginning, became the CEO, and now she's going to step aside as well. And they both just do background things at the network, and they have a new CEO, a guy who came from CNN, a longtime Washington bureau chief there, and he's the new CEO of C-SPAN because he wanted to get out of the game. He wanted to cover public affairs for the So like he said, I've been working for CNN for 30 years, and now finally I get a chance to cover public affairs.
Yeah.
and
yeah.
not Hollywood bullshit. Which is what he's had to do at CNN for the last 30 years. So the reason they had the interview was to introduce their new CEO.
Well, it's interesting, though. It's interesting. The very thing you're talking about is the very reason that Ted Turner started CNN.
Yeah.
He
Right.
wanted an unprejudicial showing of the news.
Yep.
Because he said one night he was watching the news, and I think it was Dan Rather or somebody like that, said something and then smirked. He said, I don't want any smirking. I want you to report the news. And he told people, we're not here for your opinion. We're here for you to report the news and give the news to people. And,
You know,
and CNN in the beginning was just a brilliant idea.
But when they present public affairs programming in the way that they do, the tone changes. You know, and they don't really get into it, but they showed some clips of all the presidents they've interviewed over the years, and all this other stuff. Right, they're great moments and these things, and even the clips they showed of Trump. He's not got all this grandiosity and this snap. You know what I'm saying? He halfway decently acts like a normal person because he's talking to C-SPAN. You know what I mean? When he's not on a Fox News interview or whatever. I mean, it's you almost look at him and say, "Oh, he really does know how to act like a fucking human being for 5 minutes."
Oh, that I don't
You're amazed
believe.
by
That I don't believe, but I'll take your word for it.
So when you present it in that manner, it can be done.
Yeah. Yes, Charlene.
You're going to be leaving soon, but Josh was talking about all the commercials. They make NyQuil. I actually saw a pain quill commercial, and I'm going to try it. I'm going to run out and get some for my, neuropathy and stuff. Can you believe that?
Let's see here. Biden, hold on a second. Here we go. Back it off a little bit there. Biden, 4,245 total clemency acts, 80 pardons, plus 4,165 commutations. Okay, Trump, approximately 1,743 total clemency acts, 144 pardons in his first term.
Yeah.
Wow.
Plus 1,500 pardons in second term and 94 commutations, and he hasn't been president for more than about a half a year. So there you go.
Thank you, Bree.
Yeah.
Thanks for showing us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah.
Every president does that, but they don't do it to the extent that he's done it. I mean, look at who he's pardoning. People who beat up cops, for instance. People just outright criminals, and he's pardoning them. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. I just don't know how to say it any other way. And as I say, if you're a TV reality star and you go to prison, you're going to get out. I'm wondering. They asked him today about what's his name, Diddy, because Diddy was on The Apprentice, and they got to know each other quite well. Would he pardon Diddy? And he said, well, I haven't seen the full facts of the deal, and when I do, I'll make a decision on that.
Like he looks at it.
Huh? Yeah, like he looks at it, like he reads.
How much you want to bet he does it? I'd put money down. He might do it.
I don't know. I don't think so. Because then Diddy said some nasty things about him. He said, but I don't decide whether I'm going to commute somebody's sentence or not based upon whether they like me or not.
How much they pay.
I heard that they're paying him.
What'd you say?
Sorry.
When he says Diddy said some bad things, he's trying to get the cash number up.
Right. Yeah. I heard they pay for pardons.
Yeah, they pay for you get a pardon, and you get a pardon, and you get a pardon. Yeah.
You buy 2 Trump cards, you get a pardon.
Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway.
Only 10 million.
There comes our theme song. Hey, listen, it's been a nice hour. I've appreciated your calls and your inspiration and your desire to talk about things one way or another. Charlie, good having you here. Einstein on your shirt. E equals mc squared. That's energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, right?
Yep.
You don't look that smart. That was good.
With that simple equation, he turned the world upside down.
Yep.
It's amazing. Josh, good having you here. Great talking to you. Same thing with Alan. Nice having you here, so I could correct all your misinformation.
Absolutely.
Jeff, good having you here, my friend. Always nice to have you here. Charlene, good having you there. We want to thank the lovely and attractive Kevin. And finally, Bree's got his hand up, but I think he's just trying to wave goodbye. All of you, why don't you give a big wave goodbye, and I will give a big wave goodbye at you, okay? There they go, ladies and gentlemen. That's our citizen panel for tonight and for this week. However, we will be back here on Monday with the pop-up show. That'll be on Facebook, okay? And then we'll be back here next Wednesday at 10:30, same time, same station live. In the meantime, as always, stay tuned for Amy Manuel. She's next, and I'll if you see her, not Amy, Marjorie, if you see her, tell her I love her, okay? Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.